after Srila Prabhupada's disappearance. End of November 1977 until March of 1978. In March of 1978, the GBC formally presented the 11 new acharyas. That was about 3.5 to 4 months after Srila Prabhupada's departure. I can only relate my own personal experiences during that period of time, as I can't think of any particular event related to this topic. In my personal story, I give more details about my personal experiences at that time. And here I will just give a brief summary. About 1.5 weeks after Prabhupada departed, Bhardraj had returned from India. He was in charge of the Fate Museum project, where I was also in charge of the multimedia department of that project at the time. Bhardraj held meetings with project devotees and told us his experience of Srila Prabhupada's last month in this world. At one point, he informed us how, just after he arrived in Vrindavan, which would have been around the 16th of October, that he was in Srila Prabhupada's room when Srila Prabhupada requested for all his disciples to come and be by his side. As I've explained earlier, approximately on October 19th, Rameshwar had come back from India and had told us just the opposite. But when Bhardraj came, a week and a half after Srila Prabhupada's disappearance, and Bhardraj came and told us that Srila Prabhupada had actually requested us all to come, then I knew something was horribly wrong. The next morning after Bhagavatam class, I caught up with Rameshwar and I told him what Bhardraj had told us, that Srila Prabhupada had actually invited us, requested us all to come. He then took me to his private quarters and he sat down and he told me everything, all the details that I've related here and why he had done what he did. I've related that here and also documented it in my personal story. So I'm not going to go and repeat all of that here. You can tap on the link to view that if you want. But in my personal story, I told how learning of what these GBC men had done and learned that they had just lied to us and to keep us from knowing and fulfilling Prabhupada's desire, all this was extremely disturbing to me. Srila Prabhupada had just left this world, and that was hard enough to deal with. But now we find out that our leaders had just lied to us and using Prabhupada's name and acted to prevent Prabhupada's last request from being fulfilled. It was bad enough that Prabhupada had just left. But now I find our so-called, that just turned my whole world black. So, but then on top of that, some weeks later, we get rumors and start to hear that the very same GBC men who just lied to all of us and offended their spiritual master, now we're told that Srila Prabhupada had appointed those very same men to become the next gurus. My world was thrown into total disbelief. And all I felt was just a horrible darkness. And I couldn't figure out, I had so many questions and I had no answers. So, and like I said, I'm not going to go through all that detail right now. That's all I explained in my personal story.